Iran-Israel news. Calls for Gaza mass graves probe rise. With more than 300 dead recovered from 2 mass graves at Gaza hospitals after Israeli forces left, the EU has supported a UN call for an independent probe. Israeli airstrikes on a residential structure in southern Gaza's Rafah city, where 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering and fearing a ground assault, have killed 5 and wounded many. Military officials said the attack is moving ahead. President Joe Biden signs a $95 billion security pact that gives Israel $26 billion and Gaza $1 billion in humanitarian relief. After Hamas released a video of Israeli-American detainee Hirsch Goldberg Polin in Gaza, hundreds protest outside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's home, demanding the release of all captives. Since October 7, Israeli strikes on Gaza have killed 34,262 Palestinians and wounded 77,229. Israel has lost 1,139 people to Hamas's October 7 strikes, with others more in Gaza. USC has campus security and LAPD officers. Some had tear gas canisters and batons. This small group of protesters appears to have decided to get arrested. Unless they disperse, police will arrest them. Only hours of calm protest existed before. Handcuffed and led away is one individual. Young woman, it seems. Who chose that individual out of hundreds here? I don't know. Many students here defy cops. Hundreds of students are still on the steps where police used to be, calling for an end to the Israeli military's Gaza conflict. This is a stressful scenario with no clear end date. Jake Sullivan, the White House's national security advisor, never used the word independent. That is the main disagreement between the U.S. and other international leaders and the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights' proposal for a mass grave probe. The U.S. Deputy Ambassador to the UN stated to Al Jazeera that the U.S. would not support an independent probe, but would instead engage with governments and review images. Thus, the U.S. and many other world leaders still disagree. We are far from accountable. The Texas governor believes anti-war student protesters belong in jail. In an ex-post, Governor Greg Abbott said Gaza war protesters belong in jail. Hundreds of state troopers and police surrounded University of Texas at Austin students, the governor said. Abbott's post claimed the protesters were anti-Semitic without evidence. CAIR called Abbott's protest response unconstitutional. The First Amendment applies to the state of Texas, whether Greg Abbott likes it or not, CAIR wrote on X. In March, Abbott signed an executive order forcing Texas colleges to punish campus antisemitism under the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, criteria, which includes calling the existence of a State of Israel a racist endeavor, Israeli shelling, incursions in northern and central Gaza. Wafa said Israeli artillery shelled multiple places in central Gaza strips Deir el-Balah and Wadi Gaza. Wafa reports artillery bombardment and Israeli raids in eastern Jabalia and Gaza City, north of the Gaza Strip, especially in Zaytown and the northwestern side. University of Texas professor witnesses police attack on pro-Palestinian protest. Professor Jeremiah Suri, from Austin, Texas, witnessed a peaceful demonstration of 200 students on a grass lawn after teaching a history class. These students only shouted "Free Palestine." Maybe they had 2 signs. They said nothing anti-Semitic. They said nothing menacing. As the students stood and shouted, I saw an army of police, including state, college, and city police, nearly as large as the throng. Many were carrying firearms and rifles, and within a few minutes, this gang of cops broke into the student gathering and arrested them, Suri said Al Jazeera. He stated the students were loud, but they were peaceful, and the police attacked them. More shouting followed. After seeing this, more students arrived and the violence escalated. It grew more violent because police attacked students, not vice versa.